All right, making sure here. Okay, welcome everybody to HHG Live. This is David Hedge here. I'm going to give it a little bit, see if anybody, when people come in, all that good stuff. You'd think I'd be prepared a little bit more for doing these lives, but you know what? Still working on it. At least I'm being more consistent on one channel than I was on another, which was Twitch. But today we have a lot we're going to be talking about. Might go a little bit longer than usual because a lot of things have happened in the world of gaming, including one that definitely caught a lot of people by surprise. And that was a discontinuation of a card game that everybody thought was going to be a huge hit in the long run. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So for tonight on the docket, we're going to talk about the first matchup that we had for our HHG Dice Throne Tournament. Uh, go over some feedback we got from that. We are then going to give you a little bit of a wrestling story time. So I made the connection that the reason why I made the House Hedge Gaming Tabletop Championship was to be connected with my wrestling career that I had for 15 years in the Virginias and the Carolinas. And I figured I could start telling some of those stories here. It won't get me in trouble anymore. A lot of things happen on the road, but I wanted to share some of those stories on here. And there's one I'll even include how I got the name of David House. It's a fun little story with that. But then also, the main topic for tonight will be going into a sample of a new series that we're doing here starting in September called The Card Graveyard, which is going to be something that I'm looking forward to doing. It's one of the bigger projects I'm doing because I'm actually going to be doing scripts. I got a lot of notes and everything, and it's going to tie into um, a recent event that just happened. So we'll be able to go into that a little bit tonight. So, but first and foremost, I do want to point out a couple things. First off, we have affiliate links for a couple of companies now, which this is a way for you to help us on the channel. And you can find them in the description of this video and all the videos that we recently posted on the House Hedge Gaming YouTube page. So you can go to that page and you can use our Amazon links. Use our Amazon link when you get ready to shop for pretty much anything, and we'll get a little bit of something from it. And when you do that, we'll be putting that towards stuff here at HHG to be able to get better lighting, work on better sound systems, things of that nature to help improve our videos here. The other thing we're doing is that we have an ambassador affiliate with Deutsch. If you're not familiar with Deutsch, Deutsch is a basically a snacking cookie dough that's ready to eat. You can eat it raw or you can eat it baked. Either way, it's full of nutritional ingredients, protein packed, and it's really tasty. As a big guy, it definitely approves. I definitely approve of that. But it's really healthier than a lot of other snacking options that us gamers can have. It's very compact. You can actually use our promo code and get $5 off your order at Deutsch's website. So you can go to their website, use HHG 2026, and you'll be able to get $5 off your order. That's about as much promotion I'll be doing on that on this. I may do like other like little skits or something later on down the line to go over that. But let's go over a few things that happened. First and foremost, the Dice Throne Tournament has officially kicked off. This is something that we've been working on for a while now, and it's something that we wanted to do. And first off, anybody who has checked out the videos, thank you so much for checking out our first video. We act like a bunch of little kids because Hannie said a bad word. And I posted a very long explanation in the description. A few people point out, going like, "You didn't need to do that." And I think the reason why I did it was because we're still a growing channel and we try and do everything PG, and I want to make sure that nobody has any gets ran off because of words or anything like that. Uh, so I did go a little bit overboard, and I admitted that, so I adjusted it and everything, got that taken care of. But one of the other things that came up was we had some people say, hey, why are they not playing these characters? Like, do they understand the rules of the character? Do they understand the rules, period? And maybe calling this a tournament was a bit misleading. Um, so we're going to change the name of it a little bit. I don't exactly know what as of yet. We're working on a couple names, but it won't be a tournament going forward. It might be like some sort of like an showdown or like an eliminator or something like that, where we can have uh, just not have that tournament uh, like expectation, you know. So we're going to be working on changing the name going into the next set of tapings, and you should see that name change on the fourth, beginning of the second round. Because we already got the first round film, we got the second round. We're doing editing on it right now, and then that will be coming up in the next few weeks. So you'll be seeing that change there. Excuse me for a sec, because I'm going to actually take a sip here. By the way, Snorlax. I had to. It's was Cindy's favorite Pokemon, so I'm trying to keep track of how many days I keep this before she ends up taking it to work. So far, I'm on day 4. I just said it right there. But we've gotten some really good feedback with the tournament. We've gotten some feedback about the sound and everything, so we're going to be working on that going forward. But for everybody that's checked out the tournament, everybody that's checked out um, everything with the event, I want to thank you for that because it does mean a lot. This is something that we've been working on, like I said, and it's going to be interesting to see how the tournament unfolds because we have different play levels, as I mentioned in a video that I posted here at HHG. We got myself, who's an experienced gamer. I've been in the world of gaming in some form or fashion for over 20 years. Cyndi, who's been gaming for over 15 years, and most of that's because of me. Owen and Hannie have both been in the realm of gaming, but in different forms. So for Owen, it's been role-playing games like Cyberpunk and D&D. And he does miniature games like Warhammer. While Hannie has done a lot of the more classic games like Scrabble, Monopoly, uh, even games like Cards Against Humanity, things of that nature. But she's starting to get more and more into the realm of tabletop gaming. So she's been having fun with that. And then we have Chloe and Crystal, who have just started dipping their toes in the world of gaming. They started with Magic the Gathering, and now they're starting to get into these other board games and the other card games. And it's great to see how all these different levels of gameplay interact with each other and how people can pick games up. Crystal does remind me of Cyndi a lot about that because she's picking up gaming so like rules of games so much like Cyndi did that I'm going to get my butt whooped every day every time we have her over for a game night. Has pretty much been happening anyway. She's been grasping the rules of Commander, and she's been grasping a lot of the rules for these other games, and she's becoming a her own seasoned gamer, if you will. So, if you will, baby. Uh, so it's been pretty cool to see that and just see the evolution of a player and being able to see that happen as somebody who's been an instructor of gaming, board games and card games for a long time. And now I'm starting to do that at the casino. I've been doing that. I just recently done that a couple nights ago. We were had a few people come up and go, "Hey, what's this Mississippi Stud game?" I was dealing there. I got the demo Mississippi Stud, and they were winning and everything, and we were all having a great time. So I love doing that. And it's great to see that this tournament we're going to be able to see all the different play styles. You're going to see how each person uses the characters differently. And we never wanted to try to be a major tournament thing. That was never our thing. It's just 6 friends getting together for a title belt that I wanted to use as another extension of the channel to where we could do some fun stuff with it each month at the end of the month to do like title offenses and things of that nature and maybe come up with gaming wrestling personas and things like that. Maybe David House might come back a little bit, who knows. Um, but that's what we wanted to do. And for everybody that's responded, uh, whether it's to give us some advice, to thank us for the videos, to encourage us to see how we can do more and everything, I want to thank you for that. I've always said that I will take any feedback that we can get, and if it can help us to become better um, at doing videos, we'll definitely do it. The only thing I won't do, I won't tell somebody how to play a deck or how to play a game. That's not my style. Everybody, like, I will be more than happy to teach. I'm more than happy to show them the rules. I'm more than happy to explain how a deck works, how a character works. But in the long run, it's up to the player to decide how they want to play it. And sometimes they see things that I don't see or anybody else can see, or they may see different ways of achieving victory. They might see a little combo or something like that, and I'd much rather for them to be able to discover that. And then I see it, and I'll be like, "Well, son of a gun! I'm glad that I was able to see that, and that's pretty cool." So, but that's the tournaments. I can't wait to see how y'all uh, react to what's happening in the tournaments because we have a lot of cool matches coming up. And I can't wait to see who gets crowned as the inaugural HHG tabletop champion. So, so speaking of HHG, like I said, we got a lot of stuff we're working on. One thing I do want to show real quick before I go into a couple wrestling stories before we get into the main thing. One of the games that we're going to be doing soon on the channel is a game called Gates of Krystalia. Now, this is a role playing game, and it caught my eye. I came across it on Facebook, and it's one of those I just reached out to the company. I was like, hey, if you have any promotional materials, can you let us be able to use it a little bit? Like, if you have anything that we can promote for you, by all means, let us know. And whenever I reach out to a company about any type of promotion or anything, one thing I'll be full disclosure right now, I don't ask for money. All I'm doing is just trying to get the word out for any gaming company that wants a little bit extra boost, whether it be from the smallest company to the largest companies, hopefully an extra voice will be able to get their game out there. So the great people at Gates of Krystalia, uh, they originally went, no, unfortunately, we don't have anything that we can send you physically. But they sent us the digital rewards from their Kickstarter campaign. I can't thank them enough for doing that. One of which was the layout for a playmat. Now, I'm playing role playing games for a long time, and you usually have the gaming sheets that tell you all your stats and everything. But this map, I got it made. I had to. First off, love the artwork. Let me just get it in view here. But second of all, like, this layout is for everything you need pretty much for your character. The very top row has all of the status effects that can happen to a character, whether it be charmed, concealed, confused, frightened. You get to mark these. Like, and it's visible for everybody to see. Like, you can't, the DM or GM or anything won't be looking, going like, did I confuse you, and try to think it's on your paper or whatever, and might be taking notes, but you get to have that. You have your primary character in the middle, you have your supporting cards here, and you have your vital energy here, your health right there, and then you have any cards that are removed from your deck. Which, by the way, another thing I really like about this game, and I'm really excited about getting this on the channel. I'm working on getting the rules down. But one thing you're able to do in this game, unlike D&D and others, is that this runs off a 52 card deck. Just playing cards. So it's not a thing where you have to carry around a lot of different dice for your character and all. Which, don't get me wrong, I got a box full of dice. I collect them. I have different sets of dice from Gen Con and Norse Foundry and a bunch of others. But to be able to have a role-playing game that you are able to use a deck of cards and be able to use like poker type connections and everything, and be able to use those as part of checks and attacks and all that stuff. I find it really intriguing to be able to do that, and I can't wait to be able to get this on the channel and do a playthrough of it, uh, like a short little one-shot playthrough, and be able to explore all the different characters and the different classes and everything that you're able to use in that game. And I can't thank them enough for sending us that those files and everything so we can do this. It's going to take us a little bit, but trust me, we're going to have it out, and when we do, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to not draw cards and just complete the full cycle. I can't roll worth a dang, and I won't be able to draw what I need to draw in this, and I'm looking forward to that, while Cyndi and Crystal will probably just draw all the cards they want to draw and be able to hit major attacks for it. So I can't wait to show you all that. But I just wanted to show the playmat because, like I said, they sent us the file for it and I got it made, and it's really cool. So, all right. So next up, let me actually check something here. Next thing I want to go over is we are
Where's in town?
not showing that. All right. So I was in wrestling, as a lot of people know, for a long time. I was in wrestling for over 15 years, and I had the privilege and the pleasure of being a part of the crazy world of pro wrestling. And I've had the opportunity to do so much in that realm. And I want to finally start sharing some of those stories on here. So on these live streams, I'll tell a couple stories from my wrestling past, and there's a few road stories I could tell. Some I really can't, but you know what? That's what a wrestler does. Sometimes he has stories he can't tell. But I can tell you a couple right now. So first off, my wrestling name was High Stakes David House. Now some people might have wondered why I was called David House. One, big guy. Houses are usually big. Makes sense. But my character, my in-ring persona was I was a former bouncer from Las Vegas, Nevada. And technically, part of that's true. I was a bouncer for a little while with a group called the Wolf Pack in Roanoke, Virginia. Um, a person that I consider a family, a brother. Uh, Henry used to run it. Henry and Sean, Roy. It was basically a bunch of friends that just would do so much for doing security for a lot of different bars and everything. And I thought it was really cool. And one night I got conscripted to help out a little bit, and it was a whole lot of fun. So I got a chance to work for a couple of events. So technically, yes, I am a former bouncer. So there we go. But I've never been to Vegas, so that was a lie. But I wanted to do something that involved with the David House name, come up with the character from Las Vegas, Nevada. House always wins. I was able to use that as a catchphrase, and it's something that I workshopped with a friend of mine, Adam Bowles. Now, Adam Bowles, he lives in Pennsylvania right now. He works for Al Central Games. So Adam, if you're watching this, if you're not, that's fine. But if you are, hey Adam. Um, but well, he was part of me coming up with that name and coming up with the persona, along with Henry and several others, to just get the persona right for wrestling. But that wasn't the first one. Uh, we both worked at Star City for a while, and we would sit up front and we'd be sorting out cards and we would try to figure out wrestling personas for me, wrestling names. And Adam came up with three different personas that I will never forget. The first one was Stock Canyon, a failed stunt performer. And it would just be a person that would always try and do dives, always crash and burn, never hit one, and there you go. And I was like, nah, I can't do dives. I'm good. And he was like, okay. And then he came up with one that was a person that would basically have narcolepsy. Basically, they would fall asleep at any time. And that's similar to what NXT had with Wendy Chu for a little while. So Adam was a little bit ahead of his time on that one. But the one I will never forget that Adam suggested was to be called the Kaiser. Now, before I even explain this, do not picture the following, it'll burn your retinas. He suggested wearing a war helmet from Germany, wearing a yellow Speedo, and I was thinking, no, that ain't happening. And my finishing move would be the Kaiser roll. Now, the Kaiser roll would be a small package from the top rope. I don't know how the physics would be on that. But years later, Edge and Christian on their podcast, they actually create a character called Paul Smackage, and his finisher was a small package from the top rope. So again, Adam is a time traveler. He's seen some of the future, and it's just the weirder points of it. But my catchphrase for the Kaiser would be, "Your buns just got buttered." Needless to say, that character never saw the light of day. That's not to say I didn't try to give it to a person or two up at camp, but it never saw the light of day. But anyway, for wrestling, I was trained at Jimmy Valiant's wrestling school, the Boogie Woogie Man. And for anybody who does not know the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, he had several stages of his wrestling career. He was in the WWF as part of the Valiant Brothers with Captain Lou Albano as his manager, and they were the tag team champions up there. He went to Memphis, Tennessee. He had a legendary feud with Jerry Lawler. He went to NWA where he fully embraced the Boogie Woogie Man persona, and he was rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling all night long. And he would do some of the most outrageous fights. He wasn't really a wrestler when he got to NWA. He was more just a brawler. He was a classic 100%. I'm just going to be wild and I'm going to kick the crap out of you. And one of my favorite matches was at Starrcade one year. It was Jimmy Valiant and Miss Atlanta Lively, who was Ronnie Garvin in a dress. Nobody was going to mess with him because Ronnie Garvin could beat the living daylights out of you. And you mentioned anything about the dress. He looked good. And so he can still whip my butt, I'll tell you that. But they went against the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. And it was already part of a really great Starrcade card because it had all sorts of different gimmick matches. It had a little bit of something for everybody back in the 80s on that one. But that was just, it was a street fight. And I got a chance to talk to Bobby Eaton just a little bit about that. And I got to talk to Boogie Woogie Man about that. And it's always one of my favorite matches to go to and watch because it's just fun to watch. Just everybody beating the crap out of each other. You see Miss Atlanta Lively pulling out powder and throwing it in the eyes of everybody. But at the end of it, you had the Midnight Express stripped down because they came out in tuxedos. It was an Atlanta street fight, and they came out in tuxedos. They got the tuxedos ripped off of them. Jim Cornette almost had to kiss Big Mama's backside and everything. And Ronnie Garvin was just a bloody mess. Like, just his wig was just so covered in red. He had a blonde wig. It was crimson by the time the match was over. But just seeing all those matches happen and just seeing everything, how his career has evolved. And I had an instance where I decided I was going to go into wrestling. And I wanted to follow a dream that I never thought I'd be able to attain. And I had an instance where somebody basically said that I was nothing, that I was never going to amount to anything, that I was just a fat nobody that nobody would want. And I went to prove that I can be somebody. And I went up to Jimmy Vines Wrestling Camp, and I started there. God, it's been a while. About 2008, I believe it was around 2008 was when I first went up there. And it was shortly after Gen Con that year. And I got the opportunity to be trained by some amazing wrestlers in the Virginia, the Carolinas. And I got a chance to be trained by Jimmy Valiant. And it definitely made a lasting impression in my life. And one of the biggest ones I get to call my wife. I met Cyndi through Boogie's Wrestling Camp. And the first time I saw her, I was like, wow. And through circumstances and everything, we got to the point to where some stuff happened and she needed a friend. And I asked her if she wanted to go see a movie. And she went, "I'm not looking for a relationship." I'm like, "I didn't ask you for a date. I just wanted to know if you wanted to go hang out as friends." And then things evolved from there. And we're going on 16 years married. And I will tell you this right now. I do my very best not to make her mad because I have seen her swing a chair. She's managed a couple times and she can swing a chair like a son of a gun. So if there's a folding chair around, I will not make her mad. Even if there wasn't, I still wouldn't make her mad. She would find a folding chair. But I've had a lot of great times on the road in wrestling. And I'll tell you one right now, and then we'll get to the main topic for tonight. So one of the biggest things in wrestling I got a chance to do was I got a chance to wrestle at West Virginia Championship Wrestling. And in that time, I got to sit under the learning tree of five amazing gentlemen. Two of which were my tag partners, the Bunkhouse Boys, Big Willie Blackheart and the Bandit. Uh, these gentlemen were the souls of Texas, and they were a really great tag team. Uh, back in back in the day, I'm saying back in the day, I was like the 2000s. Good Lord, I'm old. But they were a great tag team. The Bandit was basically a suplex machine. He would throw somebody three ways past Sunday, while Big Willie Blackheart was a big guy. He knew how to use his weight, and he would definitely use it to take out his opponents. And I was given the opportunity to team with those gentlemen, and I was a third bunkhouse boy for a while, along with the manager Diamond, and we had a feud with Eric St. Clair, the Mighty Hojo, and number one George South. And for those of you who don't know, George South is a journeyman wrestler, but a lot more than that, because he was one of those that an established star would get in the ring with. And he still is to this day. I'm not saying he's retired or nothing. No, he's still going. What the heck am I talking about? Him and Ricky Morton aren't going to go anywhere anytime soon. Lord knows they just fought zombies in JCW. But George South, he's wrestled everybody. He's wrestled Ric Flair. He's wrestled Harley Race. He's wrestled Bobby Eaton. You name them back in the 80s and early 90s, he wrestled them. And so I had the opportunity to sit under the learning tree of these five men. St. Clair has had years of experience. Mighty Hojo was he was something else backstage, but he was undoubtedly one of those people I can learn from because he was also a big guy. Him and Big Willie Blackheart, I was able to learn so much from him. But I was able to get in the ring with George South for a while. I had a one-on-one match with him, and if I could ever find it, I'll post on here. I'll post on Facebook so y'all can see it. Um, but I had a one-on-one match with George South, and it was a whole lot of fun. And here I am as the bad guy, as a heel, and I'm doing my best to keep my face all serious and everything. But in the back of my mind, I was like Homer Simpson. I was like just, I was so excited to be in the ring with somebody who has worked with such great men, because anytime he got in the ring with somebody, the promoters would say, I'll do a squash match. And they're like, the heck with you, I'm going to do about 15 minutes with him. 20 minutes, because he can hang. He could do it. And they have a great match. And then the promoter goes, yeah, you're right. We're good. And even to this day, like George South's still entertaining as all get out. And he's still brawling. He's still wrestling. He's still fighting. And I love seeing it. And I had a chance to wrestle him one-on-one. But we had the big blow-off match. It was at a charity event for the Children's Miracle Network in West Virginia called Miracle on the Mountain in Bluefield. And we were going to have a bunkhouse brawl. Come dressed as you are, street fight. And I got to have my dad there, my little sister Ash, my niece Lexi, and Cyndi was there with us as always. And I was in the back and we were getting dressed and everything. And we were going to be semi-main event. The main event was going to be featuring Matt Hardy and Hurricane Helms, which still blows my mind. I was on the same card as them. Quick side note on that. Rebby Sky was a part of it, Matt Hardy's now wife, but at the time just his girlfriend. And she was wrestling in a match, and I was watching on the monitors because I was usually just watching the monitors or watch somewhere so I could see what's going on in the ring and everything. And then I had somebody come up from behind me and go, "Move over, big man." And I looked and it was Matt Hardy. And I was like, "Yes, sir, you got it." And I moved over and me and him watched Rebby wrestle. And it was just really cool. Like I got to have that memory. But we were in the back and we were getting ready for the match. And in the about 30, 45 minutes leading up to the start of the show, they told us, "Hey, you guys are going first." And we're like, "Excuse me?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's the big street fight. We want you to set the tone." And my heart just started pounding. I was like, "Oh, good Lord, I'm in trouble. I don't know what I'm going to do." Because I thought I had like another hour and a half, 2 hours of prep for the match. But then George South came up to the three of us, and Big Willie's a big guy. I'm a big guy. Band's a big guy. And we started going over what's going to happen, like just a light thing of what was going to transpire in the ring. And his response was, one of the first things he said was, "I want to work with a big man." And me being the stupid kid I was, I just looked around. I was like, "Which big man?" And he pointed at me and he was like, "You." And I was like, "You got it, sir." And we started talking. And then we had a fan, somebody that came. I don't know if it was a fan or just somebody who was with one of the wrestlers, but she came up to us. She was like, "Hey, I brought a tabletop copier. Can you use it?" And I'm thinking, okay, how are we going to use a tabletop copier in the midst of this thing? And Big Willie, he chimed in. He was like, "Oh, I know. We can do it." And I'm like, "Okay, you have fun with it." So we get out there, and I'm dressed in jeans and my long sleeve black shirt and everything. We're dressed in street clothes and all. And Bandit came out there. He was hurt. We are going to get the jump on George South and everybody. We didn't. George South and them got the claws on us. We bailed out. And then all of a sudden, Diamond started bringing out the weapons. I'm thinking, okay, Diamond, hand us weapons. She started throwing them into them. And I looked at Diamond. I'm like, "Diamond, we're right here. Why are you throwing it into them?" Next thing I know, I got a cookie sheet on my back. And it just went off from there. I got hit with a cookie sheet, keyboard, all that stuff. But later on in the match, we're in the middle of the ring. It's George South now in the ring. Everybody else is brawling all over the place. I have no clue what's going on until I get the upper hand on George South, and I'm beating this old man. I'm getting some shots in, and then all of a sudden I see this tabletop copier starting to get body surfed to the front, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, how in the world is this going to go? So I'm still just beating down on George South. Next thing I know, I hear a crash. And I look down, I see Bandit's, Big Willie Blackheart's head in this copier, and he's starting to bleed a little bit. And I'm like, ah, heck. Well, here we go. And that's when everything picked up. And it got to the point to where George South used some powder on me, choked me off the rope, choked me out with a golf club, which he's been selling pictures of that for a long time. I didn't get a single dime, and I don't care. At least my face got out there. But in the end, I took a flying forearm from George South, and the good team won. West Virginia prevailed over Texas. And that was my last match in West Virginia because I was going to take a little bit of time off and then be an announcer. And I was an announcer up there for a little bit. And then things happened, and I was no longer needed. And then other things happened, and West Virginia Championship Wrestling was no longer a thing. But it's one of those stories I can take with me. I got a chance to work with some amazing people, learn from great minds in wrestling, and I get to take that with me. And hopefully, I tried my best to impart that on the people up at wrestling camp whenever I was able to go before we left to come up here to Terre Haute. And hopefully, I was able to do that a little bit. So, but there's a wrestling story for you for tonight. That was me running my mouth on the wrestling part. So, and I'll have other stories I'll tell in the weeks to come because I still got plenty of others. One's from camp, one's from the road, and maybe even some wrestling memories from my childhood, going to shows and everything. So, okay, so let's get to the main part about tonight. So tonight, I want to give you a little bit of a preview of the card graveyard, and I'll make sure to include timestamps of where this part is in the video, so people can watch it when they want to catch it later on. But tonight, I'll give you a sample of the card graveyard because I had to do some quick research because there was a game that came out in 2024 that everybody thought was going to be this big happening. And unfortunately, within less than 2 years, it left. And that game is AlteredTCG. AlteredTCG was made by the Equinox gaming company. I'm going to try and go over some of the details. I'm going to go over my thoughts about how this happened, why it is no longer around, and give you my thoughts on it. Because AlteredTCG is a really good game. It's a really fun game. For those of you who don't know, AlteredTCG, it's one of those games that's very few to where the objective of the game is not to take your opponent's life total from X to 0. You're not going to be breaking shields or anything. It's one of the few games where you are trying to get your hero and their companion back together from opposite ends of this landscape that contain mountainous regions, wastelands, it contains seas and everything. And the way you do that is you're using different characters. These characters have different stats on the side here, and these stats represent their adaptability, if you will, in the different environments. And you are also using different spells, whether it be boons to help out your characters or disruption to go against your opponents. And the objective of the game was very simple. Your companions start at one end, your hero starts at the other end, and you're trying to move your characters close together to where they're able to finally reunite. And I always thought that was a really cool concept because it wasn't any type of you need to keep your life total at X before your opponent takes it down to 0, or shields are broken, or prizes are taken, or you have to reach a certain amount of lore, or anything like that. This was one of those games that was non-combative. There was no attacking. There was basically just area control, trying to take out your opponent's characters with different spells and everything. But it wasn't like I'm going to attack you for X amount of points. It was area control, and I really did enjoy the game. Plus, the artwork on this is really cool. I always love the back of the cards. I got a chance to demo it a whole lot, but now we got decks here in the studio. We're going to be able to use those part of our TCG Tussle when we start everything up in September. Might actually get some gameplay in now, so we can keep AlteredTCG present in the mind, because unfortunately, as of earlier this month, they had to fold. I believe it was on the 18th was when they said, hey, we can't do it anymore. So I want to go over some things, just a few stats for it, and then I got some surprising notes about card games in general. So bear with me on this. This is a little bit of the research I did. This is what happens when you give me a 20-minute break every hour and 20 up at the casino, and I have stuff to do. All right, so in January 2024 on Kickstarter, the AlteredTCG was up to be kickstarted, and the original goal was £50,000. It ended up being one of the more successful Kickstarters in Kickstarter history, with over I think it was like 6.2, a little over £6 million, which is insane for a company that just wanted to get a little bit of starting capital to start up a card game. And one of the big features that they had was the scannability. Being able to scan this code and be able to have the collection in digital form, and you were able to have the physical cards too. Which some card games do something similar to that. Pokemon has it where you have redemption codes in the booster packs. There's a new card game that's getting ready to come out that's kickstarting right now, the AlteredTCG, doing something similar where you can scan the cards but be able to get not only background of the characters and the cards themselves, but also you are able to get hints of how to use the cards in decks, which I think is a great idea. But AlteredTCG, they had the QR codes there ready to go, so you can add them to your collection. Over the course of the AlteredTCG, 5 total sets came out. The first of which being Beyond the Gates, then Trial by Frost, Whispers from the Maze, Skybound Odyssey, and finally Seeds of Unity. The last set, or the next set that was supposed to come out, Roots of Corruption, was planned, and it would actually go and be one of the first sets to be done on GameFound. Within the first year of AlteredTCG, they had a lot of success. They partnered with GameGenics to make premium products to go along with their game, whether it be sleeves, deck boxes, acrylic tokens that you can use to represent your hero and the companion. So many different aspects. They were hitting all the right notes. Plus, they had qualifier tournaments for a world championship. They were offering different promos and playmats and everything for those events. And it looked like they had everything going on underway. But then they decided that with roots of corruption, they wanted to go with GameFound. They wanted to find a way to still have the community help make this a reality, which is the one thing that Kickstarter and GameFound and several others have been able to do for a lot of companies that are wanting to get into the world of gaming, whether it be board games or card games, that being able to reach out to the community and find their player base right off the bat to help them out to make their dream a reality. I know it sounds a little bit corny, but go with me on it. With just a few short days, they ended up only making, between the GameFound funds and other funds they had, 1.1 million out of the around 2 million pounds that they needed to make Roots of Corruption. With only a few days left in the campaign itself, they decided that they were going to end it. They were going to refund all the people that have already pledged money to go towards the next set, and then they decided to sunset AlteredTCG. It's a very short lifespan for a card game, especially one that had such a momentous first sign of being able to be put into the world of trading card games, draw that much attention, draw that much funding for the set, and now all of a sudden it's gone. So the big question is going to be, why did it end? What happened? Well, there's several different factors. This is where my research comes in. So first, I want to take a look at Raw Deal. I know I mentioned it a lot here on the channel, and I'll probably mention it more when I do the official version of this. That'll be the first game. But I wanted to do a little bit of a comparison between when the lifespan of Raw Deal was going on and the lifespan of AlteredTCG. So Raw Deal was created back in 2000 and lasted until 2008. So about an 8-year time span. While AlteredTCG, of course, 2024, beginning of 2024 to March 18th of 2026. For Raw Deal, during its lifetime as a card game, between 2000 and 2008, there were over 200 card games. Let that sink in for a sec. Snorlax. Over 200 card games. Now that includes games that were set in stone, like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. That also includes games that were one-shots that tried to be something, but unfortunately didn't last long, or games that lasted for a while and then unfortunately went by the wayside. So many different ones, but over 200. I think the number I got was 202, 203. Between 2024 and 2026, there are over 50 card games available. Now, that might seem a little low, but think of it that way. In 2 years, there's over 50 some card games. And a lot of these are still, and there's more to come. Because of Kickstarter and GameFound, there's finally ways for small companies to be able to promote and be able to get their name out there and find their player base. And there's so many games out there. And I wrote down a list, so bear with me real quick because we're going to go through some of these. All right, so you got the mainstream games. You got Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, One Piece, Sorcery, Neopets from Upper Deck. You have Flesh and Blood, Lorcana, Wonders of the First, Bo Jackson Battle Arena. You have Vibes, Riftbound, Cookie Run, Star Wars Unlimited, Versus, Gundam TCG, My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Supercard, Card 5 Vanguard, Weiss Schwartz, Union Arena, Grand Archive TCG, Shadowverse Evolve, and the Final Fantasy trading card game. Not only do you have that, you have also ones that are Below that, that are ones with like independent companies and all. You have Alestrals, you have Alpha Clash TCG, Nostalgics, Maya, Force of Will TCG, Total Chaos, Keyforge, Godzilla card game, Hometown Heroes, which is a football game, Oshi Push, Love Live from Bushi Road. You have Ward, you have League of Legends, you have Elegant TCG, MetaZoo, Cryptid Camp, Vars TCG, Quantum TCG, which is a Bitcoin TCG. They're doing Bitcoins and TCGs now. Good gracious. Then you also have Forbidden Quests. You have Australia Chronicles. You have Escape Land. You have STCG, which is a smart board card game where you put the card on there and it gives you all the stats right there. You have the Cyberpunk TCG. You have Dream Beasts. And there's more. There's so much out there. And it's becoming more of a variety of games that you're able to get a hold of, no matter what genre you're looking at. Whether it be fantasy, sports, you have stuff that's aimed towards kids, stuff that's aimed toward adults. You have people that are trying to chase down major items in the game and not just the rare cards, but like now you have bitcoins being put in the card games. And there's just so many different options out there now than what there was uh, back in between 2000 and 2008. Because yeah, there's 200 games in. A lot of those are one shots. But back then, it wasn't easy to get a game off the ground. A lot of major companies were trying to just throw whatever they could at the wall at any time to try and make the next big thing. Because back in 2000, 2008, you had Wizards of the Coast. If they were able to get a hold of an IP, they just threw it on the wall and hope it stuck. They're like, okay, we got Pirates of the Caribbean. Nah, didn't stick. All right, we got Neopets. Didn't stick. All right, we got Star Wars. Didn't stick. They would try everything. They had a G.I. Joe card game. They had Codename Kids Next Door. They had Hecatome. They had Dreamblade. I'll get the Dreamblade at some point because I would love to go over that one. That one frustrates me this very day. That was a great miniatures game. But you had all of these amazing games that came out, and then you also had games like Austin Powers. You had Lord of the Rings. You had so many different ones that stuck around for a bit, but they were from card companies like Decipher and everything. But the biggest thing is that there weren't really independent companies. They didn't really have the chance to have the crowdfunding like you have today with Kickstarter and GameFound. The way that those companies got off the ground is that they went to conventions, no matter how big or small the convention was. They would go to them, they would travel to them, they would find their player base, and then they would do their best to connect with them so they could actually get the support that they needed to make their game a reality. And it's a lot easier now to do that. You just post it on Kickstarter or GameFound, then you do a media campaign through the social media sites, whether it be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you can post any type of advertising. You can invest a little bit of money to be able to do that. Find yourself a decent marketing team, get yourself a nice catchy ad, a nice catchy jingle, anything you need to do to catch somebody's attention, like they did for me with Gates Krystalia and like a lot of other games that I found through Facebook. It works. It definitely works. It finds people that are looking for different alternatives to gaming to get on the gaming table for card games. And I think just right now, that's one of the major things is that you need to have something that is going to be able to retain as much of your player base as possible. Now, for AlteredTCG, they had a organized play system. They had a world championships, but it was a little bit hard to find like what the prizes would be for the world championship because unfortunately a promo like a few promo cards and stuff like that won't really sustain it. People are looking for more tangible things. Like people, of course, want money. People, of course, want like big trophies, things of that nature, and that's what people would expect from a world championship. Excuse me. Um, but with Altered, even though they had a really good plan for locals for the game stores and everything. If I can find what the World Championship was, stuff was, because I wasn't able to find that right now. I went on their site and I was able to find like the different prize cards they were doing, stuff like that, which was really cool. But I didn't really see much anything else beyond that. But I know they had a World Championship tournament prepared. It was going to be in Q3 of this year, Q4, and they had qualifiers lined up. So they had a plan. But unfortunately, they weren't able to see it through because they had to cancel the game. Now, going back to what I think happened. One, you have a lot more options out there. There's so much out there right now in the world of gaming, especially for TCGs, where we're going through a renaissance of all these different TCGs that you're able to get a hold of now. And everybody's got to find a hook. Everybody's got to find something that people will gravitate towards and be able to keep them for a long period of time. For some games, it's the collectability of it. Whether it be from Magic the Gathering serialized cards, Pokemon having extreme chase cards, even though a lot of that popularity and all is caused by lack of product because of scalpers. You have Lorcana that is able to do a lot of the enchanted cards that are really collectible. You have Bitcoins now. You have a lot of games just going to serialized cards to be able to go, hey, we got collectability right here. Some do it in a very well-designed fashion, like Soul Masters TCG. They have little collector sets of 3 serialized character cards, your main character for the game, and you're able to give it a nice box, nice cases and everything, collectability, and it's affordable. For other games, it's basically the premise. Whether it be you're fighting against a fellow wizard and you're trying to get their life total from 20 to 0, or you're going against a duelist to try and get their life points from 8,000 to 0, or you're going against a fellow Illuminaire from in Lorcana, where you're trying to gain lore, but you're also trying to take out your opponent. There's just so many different games out there. And all of them pretty much have some sort of a combative theme to them. AlteredTCG went a different route. They went the route of, hey, you're wanting to try to make these areas safe and control these areas to be able to get a companion and a hero together and be able to win that way. Maybe it was enticing at first, and the gameplay is there. It's real. It's fun gameplay. It's easy to understand, but a lot of people just probably wanted a little bit more out of it. Maybe they like the combat a lot more. The other thing too, like I said, the collectability, they didn't really offer any type of collectible niche to it. Like there's no serialized cards, there's no big foils, there's nothing really like that. You have of course your rare cards and stuff like that, but there was no real ultimate chase cards, no alternate arts, no big event like big ones except for the ones you got out of tournaments. But you couldn't get them out of booster packs. Another thing too, right now in the world, there's a lot going on to where a lot of people are having to be a lot more particular about what they're wanting to invest their money in with their hobby. For some, it can be, I'm going to go with a card game that will actually get me a return on my value later on down the line, and because it's a collectible and not just a game, but it's a collectible that I can have that I can sell just in case of emergencies. Or it could be like a stock and you're able to hold on to it for quite some time and then be able to make a big sale out of it possibly. And I'm thinking that's the thing that also hurt as well. Because you can go on a lot of people's websites, you see a lot of resellability from just about every other card game. This QR code, you couldn't do it with it. Granted, you would have the physical card, but the QR code made it to where somebody else can have it in their digital collection. So this made it a little bit hard to do. Like that's nothing. Keyforge was another prime example of that. When Keyforge, you register the deck that you got because you couldn't change the deck once you got a Keyforge deck. But once you registered that deck is yours. That deck is there. And you couldn't really do anything with it if you registered it outside of just keep it and play it as it was intended to be. So there's just a lot of different factors right now that between playability, the different play styles, the collectability of it, the way the world is financially right now for a lot of people, just being very particular about what they want to invest their money into and their time into. And I think all three of these combinations is what hurt Altered. And it's really sad to see that because it looked like it was going to be a game that had so much promise that it was going to be a game that was going to last for a good long while. And in the end, unfortunately, it just was not able to hold up. Now, is there a way to save Altered? I think there is. For Altered, I would make it an LCQ. I would make it a living card game. It has a great premise to be able to be continued on as an LCQ. To give players a chance to play this game and be able to still make it very affordable. To get player packs. Just use a player pack to where you can buy the character, like similar to what, like the starters. Like this here gave you everything for one player to play. You can do like a two-player starter. Or you can do a living card game version where you get the original 6 heroes in the starter, an assortment of terrains, so you can just mix and match how the terrains you want to be. And off the bat, and they can add heroes later on down the line. I think the living card game format would be the best format for it. But as far as TCGs go, it's just really hard right now to be able to find a TCG and be able to find one that is going to stick around for a while. And when you do have one, hopefully the scalpers don't destroy it. Because we're going through a lot of things. It's not really happening with Magic, because Magic, they got their own issues. Pokemon and One Piece are suffering from scalpers. Even though a lot of scalpers are going to do what they can to get the product so they can sell it for 3 or 4 times the amount on Amazon or any other site they can get their hands on. And they're going to send friends in there to get the 2 at a time and all that stuff, and I've seen it happen. I was looking for a Pokemon set that just recently released. Or Pokemon releases. It was like the My First Pokemon box sets where it was like 3 promos, whether it be like the original 3 starters, next gen starters, and a few booster packs. Regular price $16. People were buying them and then they were selling them for like 70, 80, 90 bucks, then getting the promos and selling the promos for so much money. Like the Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur was like going for like 50, 60 bucks a pop. And they should, because they're very popular. But they were buying a lot of these boxes at 16, but selling them for like 60, 70, $80 plus. And that I'm not a big fan of at all. Like if people want to do that, that's your thing. By all means, it's not mine. I'd much rather for players to be able to get the products at a reasonable price to where they can actually play the game, and kids will be able to open up the packs, see cool cards that they want to open up, and be able to enjoy the card game as it was meant to be enjoyed. And that's just my opinion. I know everybody's got different opinions on it. That's mine. But I think just right now, it's really hard to get into the card game realm and try to maintain a player base that's loyal enough to where you can continue on. I think the other thing is too that for Altered it was too much too soon, in my opinion. I think it had a bit of an ECW-esque vibe to it, where it got a lot of exposure really quick, setting the record on Kickstarter and just setting the tone and a very high expectation of what the card game can be and what it should be and what it would be. But in the end, unfortunately, they couldn't hold up that expectation. And with all the other variables, Altered got discontinued. And I'm going to dig in more into this, and I'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive into it later on. But I just wanted to do a little bit of a little bit of a preview, because that's the stuff that I'll go over in the card graveyard, going over the difference, like go over a little more about the sets, go over about some of the tournament stuff that they had, some of the unique mechanics for the game, all that good stuff, and give you my thoughts on it. And hopefully you enjoy it. But this is where we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Got it right on the hour mark. Dang, I never will ever do that again. Uh, Hopefully, all of you who watched this video enjoyed it. And stay tuned. We got a lot more stuff coming up. We got the next round of House Hedge Gaming's Dice Throne event taking place this Friday, coming out at noon Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to be having so much more going on the channel as we lead up to Gen Con. And so make sure to join us every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here for HHG Live. Bring your questions. I'll be more than glad to answer them. And next week, I'll tell you another road story from our wrestling days, and go on to anything else that we can come up with to talk about and get some behind the scenes, and anything else just to hang out and have fun. But until next time, everyone, stay